So we were kind of forced out of our RV, kind of the opposite of what's happening in Art and Bree.
Yeah.
You know, they're forced out of their house because of the mold. We were forced out of our RV because of the mold.
Oh.
And this was like late winter, this past winter. And we were like, oh crap, what do we do? So we literally, this was all just half insulated, basically, just pink insulation everywhere. So we insulated this spare bedroom, or no, we insulated and drywalled the spare bedroom. We didn't finish drywall it, we just hung it. And we're like, we're moving in, selling the RV for whatever it's worth, getting it out of here. So
let's rewind a little bit. How did all this start? How did you guys, what prompted you to start doing all this?
So I went to school for nutrition and exercise science.
There we go.
And I always knew I wanted to do something to be closer to my food. And I didn't really know how that would resonate later in life, but I met her in Boone. I moved up there for work. She went to school there. And one thing led to another. We sold all our stuff, bought an RV, and kind of just, yeah, we kind of just went around.
Didn't know where we were gonna be.
Yeah, we went around Western North Carolina. We didn't go around the country like the Hollers did or anything like that, but we knew we wanted to be in Western North Carolina. We just didn't know where. So we ended up here, and it's funny how we found this place. Downtown Silva has an organic restaurant, and we were just exploring the area. We're like, let's check out Silva. Never been there before. Go to the organic restaurant. We pull up Zillow, as we often do, looking for property, and we found this property. And it was like the one day it snowed that year too. So we drove up here, and it was like the sun's setting, it's getting dark. This place was a mess. Like, it had been abandoned for so long. It had been clear cut, and the whole pasture was nothing but thorns and barbed wire. And we're hiking around, and she's really mad at me at this point. Yeah, because it's like the sun's going down, we're in the middle of this pasture, no way out. So we don't know how to get out. And we're just like pulling our thorns all over jackets, like trying to pull, you know, not get caught up in that. But she hated this place originally. So it was awful. So we came back like 2 days later, and we're like, let's just give it another chance. Like, I really had an idea in my head about this place.
With no snow.
Yeah, no snow. And, you know, not hiking down into the thorns.
Yeah, just looking from above.
Yeah, so one thing led to another, and we ended up getting a great deal with the owner. We actually owner financed this property. And it's technically 2 parcels, but it just worked out to where we could owner finance it, and, you know, we got it for nothing, basically. And we saw so many ideas, and we're like, we just got to do it. After 2 years of searching, we had to do something. So we live in this RV, so that's how we ended up here. You know, just on a whim at a restaurant found on Zillow. It was just happenstance.
That is awesome.
So,
We found our house on Craigslist, just
There
like
we
that,
go.
you know?
Yeah.
It just
It's just
works
like boom,
sometimes.
boom, boom, things just happen.
It's
That's how it
amazing
goes.
some of the similarities that we have in your store. That is pretty
Sold all
neat.
your stuff.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is so
I feel like a
cool.
lot of people are like that,
Yeah.
you know? That's kind of how you end up like this.
In this,
Yeah.
you know, realm, homesteading,
Yes.
farming, you know, regenerative agriculture. Like, you see so many people that are so tired
Yeah.
of what they were doing and looking for something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's just like jump in with both feet.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
really have to like get rid of your safety nets
Yeah.
in order to like, all right, we're all in, we're doing this, because it's so easy to just kind of fall back on like, oh, but this is safe and this is
Yeah.
comfortable.
Yeah.
But once you sell everything and you just start roaming around,
Yeah.
you find it.
Yeah, and for the first couple of years, we still had that safety net. Like, Asheville's 55 minutes from here on a good day. We were both commuting to Asheville for work. I was working 11-hour shifts 5 days a week.
Wow.
So it was so hard to focus on this,
Yeah.
that, you know. And hers was 8 hours, but still, you got an hour there, hour back. It was rough. So for the past 6 months, you know, COVID kind of really gave us an opportunity. You know, we were like, are we really doing the right thing here? We ended up buying our neighbor's business. You know, it's a carpet cleaning business he's had forever, and it's like a part-time thing, but it still pays the bills similar to what we were doing before. So it's freed up a lot of our time, and now we see all these other opportunities to get this house done and to focus on the farm. You know, we really want to focus on this farm, because what we really want to do, or what I want to do, is focus on perennials, both fruit, vegetable, and fungus. You know, I really want to get this mushroom thing going, because I have a great, I'll show you guys, opportunity for that out here. And that's the beauty of the mountains, because we're all sloped, right? And where we fall short with having flat land, we make up for different microclimates. Like I've got every microclimate on this property. It's incredible. So I really want to focus on perennial stuff. We'll have our annual garden as well,
Yeah.
obviously. You can't homestead not.
Yeah.
But that's what I see right now. And that could change. I don't know. You know, it's changed so much since we got here. We didn't know we were going to have ostriches when we got here. We've got ostriches out there, so.
And I can't wait to see the ostriches. And these guys have been pretty excited about and looking forward to seeing the ostriches too, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's typically the centerpiece of what's going on here. So.
Before we see the farm, would you guys show us around here just a little bit more?
Absolutely. So, like I said, we just did all the drywall. And like I said, we tore it down to the frame. It's incredible how horribly these things were built 30 years ago. I think this mobile home was built in 1990. They drug it over here, but as we tore out all the drywall, you know, the roof rafters, there was literally spots where there's no insulation at all.
Wow.
Like, there's nothing in the walls. So, you know, when we tore it all out, we really just said we want this thing to be as tight as possible. So we rebuilt it to today's standards. Like I said, I think it's an R40 in the roof or
Okay.
better.
Wow.
In most places.
Okay.
And R20 or better in the walls.
Yeah, that's good.
And R20 in the floor joists as well. So this is the master bedroom.
I like the view here.
Yeah, so what you don't see, because it's summertime and obviously it's a mess out here, we've got these doors that we put in. We're gonna put a deck. Well, I don't know if we're gonna wrap it around all the way to the other deck or not, but we want a big deck out here, and it'll be shaded by these trees, but you can kind of see the Blue Ridge back there, but in the wintertime, it's just big strip of long range view, which is incredible. It's wonderful to see.
I can just barely see it a little bit through the leaves.
Yep.
I bet it is beautiful.
Oh, it's great, and the sunset's incredible here in the wintertime. You can see the beehives down there. You can see all the birds down in the pasture. It's just a great vantage point for you wake up, you see what's going on. Eventually, obviously, it's a wood scrap pile right now in the dog's cage, but it'll be something eventually.
There we go.
But
I see the vision.
yep, it's there. It's the early stages. I'll have an office center there, and we'll have a spare bedroom
Okay.
for people come to stay. You know, obviously one bathroom. We widened out the hallways and the doors just to make it feel bigger.
Yeah.
And then the common area, obviously we'll have the kitchen. And you can see where this will be the living room area. But it's not the biggest place, and I really like the tiny home idea. Like you guys know that's about. I think it's 750 square feet just about in this room, or in the whole thing. It's about 50 feet long, but it'll be really easy to cool and heat. We'll have a wood stove here, and that'll keep the bills down.
Yeah.
You know, and with homesteading, producing our food, we won't have to be so reliant on the system. That's the point. You know, everyone's got their philosophy is why they're doing what they're doing, but ours is just getting not so much off the grid, just off of the need for the system. You know, as much. We bought the land, and this was sold at no value. So we're like, it is what it is. Eventually we're gonna tear it out of here and build something else. But as we were tearing it down, we're just like, you know what, we're gonna have to tear this shed down. It's only a couple of years old. This shed's really nice. And it costs money to even rip the frame out of here. Once you rip it down the frame, we're like,
Yeah.
well, just build on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. And it's really been paying off. You know, we haven't spent a ton of money. And, you know, this place is paid off in 2 years, the whole 6 acres that we own here.
That's great.
And once we get to that point, you know, it's 110% on the farm.
That's great. That's
So
fantastic.
That's the goal.
There we go.
Did you see this fence? But I put this fence in. It was just barbed wire, and it was poison ivy the whole way down, like just covered, like 10 feet on both sides, poison ivy.
Hope
You know, I
I
can
saw
show you
ostrich.
pictures, but yeah, we'll have to take you down there. But it took forever for me to just cut into it, pour the barbed wire out. Like I got covered in poison ivy probably 10 times in the 2 years that I was doing that.
Man, poison ivy's not fun.
Awful. I've eradicated all of it.
There we go.
Thankfully, it's gone now. But what I really want to see for this property is just perennials going down. So we have almost a perfectly south-facing slope, a crescent south-facing. So we want to utilize that as best we can. And as you can see, we've got fruit trees starting here and going down. We've got a kitchen garden right here, which is an annual thing, but I might turn that perennial. I don't know yet. I do know what I want to do is like the permaculture orchard.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is a thing I'm a big fan of. So one of my biggest heroes is Sepp Holzer out of Austria. He's the man. And what he's doing at 6,500 feet, surely I can do at 3,000 in North Carolina, right? This walnut tree was here when we got here, and we really wanted to keep it, and we still don't know. We're on the fence if we're going to be able to keep this walnut tree here because of these garden beds that we put in. As you can see, they have full sun. If I keep this prune back, and it's starting to produce walnuts, so I don't know. I'm going to weigh my choices here. How many walnuts are you going to get versus how much you're going to get out of the garden?
I see your dilemma. Yeah.
So that's where we're at with that, and it retains this kind of barrier really well, like the roots are holding the ground in. So I don't know, we'll see what we're going to do. It's very early stages. We don't even have a real barn yet. I built this barn for free. It's made out of pallets, an old door.
Hey, it looks like it works though.
Yeah. The old barn that fell down here, the tin off of it. The birds love it. It's waterproof. The one thing that shuts them up is when their mouth's full. So geese are really aggressive birds. And a lot of backyard bird keepers, you know, when they're used to their chickens or even their ducks, they get the geese and they're just like, oh, I can't keep the goose. You know, super aggressive. They're very aggressive birds. And that's something you gotta know before you get them. You know, and know how to keep them separate from the other birds. In fact, I hear you, man. I hear you. We let them free range like we want to do with the guineas for the longest time. But the coyotes caught on to that, and they got one of our birds. So we had to go back to putting them in the poultry netting. They like being in the poultry netting. They feel safe. So that's what we do. But we keep them away from the chickens. I really like to separate them, mostly because like a paddock for the chickens can last for like a week. A paddock for the geese can last for like 2 days.
Yeah.
So, it's just nice not moving that chicken tractor around that much. But it's not that bad either. You know it is. Like moving these fences aren't that hard.
But overall, you're just figuring out what works with the characteristics of each animal, each species, and then also managing your energies and time as well, and trying to figure out a balance there so you're not overworking yourself at the same time.
Exactly right. So this is the kind of traditional chicken tractor drag along the ground. And I've got some birds in here. Actually, the first turkeys that we brought on the property, we put in here. But these guys, it's not just turkeys, there's some guineas and some chickens. Around about 12-week-old birds. We've never had turkeys, but they are something that I probably want to incorporate more of on the homestead. In fact, I think more than broilers, we're gonna do like production white turkeys, and when we go to do like the big hullabaloo of butchering birds for ourselves. But these guineas are going to be kind of the beta phase of what I want to do in the trees. And I think I'm going to use this walnut tree as the start point for that. But we're constantly just hashing out different birds and seeing how they work and seeing what'll work and what won't. Like, we got the black copper Morans because they lay the really dark chocolate eggs, but as cool as that is, they lay like one a week.
Oh, wow.
So you're spending a lot of money on organic feed.
That ain't worth
it. No, it's really not. Like, I don't recommend that if you're going for eggs.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going for cool eggs, they lay cool eggs. But besides that, we're gonna phase out of the black cormorants.
And I say that it's not worth it, not because of the animal's not worth it, but when you're putting your dollars into the feed, it's going to end up costing you money.
Exactly.
And you're looking to make this a sustainable lifestyle.
Right.
And with it not bringing back to you and what you're doing here in the homestead, it can be hard to have that cost to eat away at.
Oh,
also.
yeah. And that we didn't learn. We learned that lesson the best with the ostriches.
Yeah.
We bought, 2,000 pound pallet of New Country organic, corn-free, soy-free, or grower-free at the time. And feeding an ostrich that doesn't produce you anything, we're like, okay, this is expensive and it doesn't do anything for us. So we kind of had to dial that back. We had to go like non-GMO for the ostriches anyway.
Yeah.
Like the New Country feeding everybody else is perfectly fine, but those guys eat a lot of food.
I bet so.
And most people have them in a permanent paddock, where it's just kind of dirt. We're lucky to where they're able to roam around. They eat a lot. We've got a ton of comfrey and stuff like that they can eat. Muscadine grapes everywhere. They love them. They love the leaves.
So they're good grazers.
Yeah, they eat a very Mediterranean diet, it seems.
Okay.
But yeah, they're great grazers, and they kind of act like pigs in a way, where they root, and I'll show you that. They're not exactly rooting, but a lot of the noxious weeds and stuff that we don't want, when we put them in there, they kind of take it all out.
Oh, that's neat.
It's a very unique way for ostriches. They're a very unique species, but they tend to stay on the perimeter of the fence. It's not like Jurassic Park where you hear them coming through the bushes. They stay on the edge, so they don't go in as much. They don't go in and root like a pig would.
Okay.
But they have cleared along the fence line. They do keep that down, and you'll see that.
All right, the suspense is killing me. We gotta see them.
Let's go. I grabbed a bucket of feed. That's all you need for these guys. They're actually really easy to
Oh, really?
take around where you want. Yeah.
Are we gonna see you do some of that?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah, there they are.
Whoa.
This is Big Bird. Yeah.
Man.
He's about 9 feet. But he is from the same stock as all these birds, and they came from 2 different bloodlines, kind of mixed. So we didn't really know what we were gonna get. So these guys are like, this guy's mixed with red and blue, I believe, and he's black and blue. Because there's these different subspecies of ostriches for people who don't know.
Okay.
And that's going to vary with their size and structure and egg production.
Now, do the different breeds come from different countries generally, or
different
originally?
regions of Africa?
Okay.
There's 4 subspecies that are not extinct that I'm aware of, and there's a lot of breeders that will sell you on a certain mix of what, but you kind of take it with a grain of salt because they stopped importing ostriches like 100 years ago to the U.S. because South Africa had the market.
Okay.
It was almost like this mafia thing where they didn't want that market getting away from them because feathers 100 years ago were worth a ton of money.
Wow. Like
crazy money. And they're not now, but that embargo kind of still exists.
Okay.
So all the ostriches that we have are still from that era. So they've gotten so mixed and watered down that it's hard to believe anybody when they tell you they're selling you this bird. It's this percentage of this subspecies.
Speaking of price, how much does it cost to get a bird?
So a breeding pair, like a mature breeding pair, is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $6,000 depending on the area.
Okay.
And these numbers you take with a grain of salt too. That's just kind of the average of what we've seen, because it's just like me selling goose eggs at the farmer's market. I'm the only guy selling goose eggs. The price could be so different from the guy selling goose eggs in Missouri.
Yeah.
So you take it with a grain of salt, but on average, we've seen breeding pairs going for about $6,000 a piece.
Okay.
Getting chicks, day-old chicks, about $250 to $500 depending on the region.
Okay.
And they'll go up from there.
Now, how often do these lay eggs?
So the bigger the bird, the longer it takes for them to reach maturity.
Okay.
The geese, it takes them a year to lay an egg, where a chicken takes 21 weeks.
Okay.
The ostrich takes 2 to 3 years to lay an egg. and on average they'll lay 40 to 60, 70 eggs a year,
Okay.
depending on the subspecies and whatnot.
Okay.
So we'll see how many our female produces. We got 2 males and 1 female. They'll definitely be fertile,
Okay.
you know, with that ratio.
Yeah.
So we really want to hatch out as much as possible. And like I said, these guys are at the 2-year mark. They're still juveniles,
Wow.
which is incredible
Wow.
because they're so big. But
It feels so majestic just being around them. It's like this is a totally different experience. This animal just towering right above me like
yeah,
this.
right?
Wow.
And that's what we say. We're like, everyone's got chickens. What can we do that's a little bit different?
Yeah.
And like, this is the biggest bird I can buy. So
Yeah.
this is what we got. And like, you
Wow.
can see their feet. Like, in comparison to my hand, they're just giant. Like these claws. If they were to kick, they kill lions
Wow.
in the wild. So if they were to kick at you, like these guys aren't very aggressive. Actually, they're not aggressive at all. But if they're wild birds, I wouldn't want to be around it.
Wow.
Because most of their weight is in these legs. You know, you can see how big
Wow.
that is. You know, that's the majority of what they are.
I feel like I'm at Jurassic Park here or something.
This guy's like a dog,
Wow.
you know, which is crazy because we raised all these guys together and they're a little bit flighty, where he is not at all.
He wants a cucumber.
Oh
They
yeah,
like cucumbers.
they love cucumbers. But look, you're just gonna peck at it. Sometimes they're really gentle and sometimes they're just tearing stuff apart. You just want to taste, don't you?
So, with raising ostriches, well, first, what made you want to raise ostriches in general?
So I was sitting around and talking with my buddy, and I was super jazzed about the fact that we finally bought property. We could do whatever we wanted. We didn't know what we were going to do yet. And we were just like, we were talking about the fact that I just ordered my chickens. And I was like, you know, I'm going to order ducks. And I think I want geese too. And he's like, yeah, you should definitely get those. You should get something crazy like pheasants or peacocks. I was like, I don't know, man. They fly around. It's like, I don't know what I want to get. He's like, you should get just crazy eggs that you can sell at the farmer's market. I was like, okay. I was looking at emus, and he's like, you should get an ostrich. I was like, ostrich? No way. I'm not going to do that. I don't even know where I could get an ostrich. I think you have to be a zoo, right? And we looked into it, like quick Google search right there, and we're like, there's a guy 5 hours from me who has ostriches.
I didn't find out that we were getting ostriches until the Great American Farm Tour
Oh, yeah.
when Justin and Rebecca found out. And I said, no, we're not. We're not getting those.
Oh, yeah, it's
We're
like
good.
we're in the meet and greet line. It's Justin and Rebecca, and it's like, yeah,
It's a great surprise.
I'm going to give you guys an ostrich egg. But I didn't know what to say to him.
We promised them our first
And yeah,
egg.
she looked at me like,
I
Okay.
looked at Rebecca and was like, we're not getting those.
you know, like 2 weeks later, we're making a 10-hour round trip.
Yeah, proved me wrong.
And you mentioned zoos, and one of the things that I was thinking of with getting ostriches is that you would have to have some kind of special license. Did you have to get any of that
Nope.
with getting ostriches?
So we were really concerned about that, you know, permitting your area, whatever, and they're treated the same as any other poultry.
Interesting.
They started doing that, they started standardizing that in the mid-90s because people got into ostriches in the 90s. There was this big boom period, and their prices were astronomical in the 90s comparatively to now.
Wow.
You know, just tenfold to what we pay for now. And because they thought, you know, ostriches were going to be the next red meat, and there's still no reason why they shouldn't be, because the carbon footprint is way lower than a cow. The period that it takes to raise them is comparative to a cow, 9 months as opposed to 2 years, 24 months. There's a lot of reasons why ostriches are better than cows for raising red meat, and that's what people don't know is it's a red meat. But that boom period didn't last, and it just kind of fell flat. But that's what spurred the FDA and all those guys, just gonna peck at you, to standardize that. And they basically treat them like chickens.
Okay.
You know, where you can have a chicken, you can have an ostrich, which sounds kind of crazy, but it's America, right?
Yeah. So in other countries, do they use them for meat? You're speaking of meat, and if so, what are some of the other uses that they use the ostriches for?
So that's another thing where they kind of outweigh the cow in the fact that the meat is extremely valuable, way more than cow or beef, and the leather is worth more than beef, which everybody's seen, you know, ostrich skin anything. The bones are great for dogs. The feathers are decorative or dusters for high price equipment.
And the oil.
Yeah, the feathers are super cool, right? They're feather dusters, and they still use ostrich feathers for dusting off like NASA's equipment and just really high price stuff where they don't want any lint to build up. Every part of the bird is worth something. There's really nothing going to waste. And like I said, it takes so much less grass, so much less area, so much less feed to raise these birds to production weight. It's just kind of a no-brainer. But people are so drawn into the fact that everybody knows cattle, everybody knows beef, that they don't really want to transition into this. And fencing is usually a thing too. Like, you don't see that here because we haven't really tried too hard with our fencing, but they stay in. We just use pallets. So I think there's a stigma there as well, that they're harder to maintain than cows, but they're really not. And they just eat a poultry feed if you're not free ranging them, which they can completely free range. I've watched them eat lizards, I've watched them eat snakes. They'll eat anything they can find.
In a lot of ways, they remind me of chickens. They just look like a big chicken to me.
9-foot chickens.
That's exactly what it reminds me of.
Yep. The guy I used to work with, real old-timey guy, he's just like, he's got 9-foot chickens. It's like, pretty much. Because I was overthinking it, how to raise them, how to keep them in the wintertime. He's like, just treat them like chickens, big chickens. I was like, you're right. That's all they really are. And actually, they're way more hardy. A lot of the diseases that chickens are prone to, after you get past like the 6-month mark, they're indestructible after 6 months.
They're like turkeys before that. It's almost impossible to keep them healthy.
Yeah, so like when they're young, they're super susceptible.
Okay.
But after that, you can't kill them.
So they do well when it gets cold here and even in snow?
Yeah, so that was my big hang up. I was like, well, it's colder here in the wintertime. These guys live in Sahara. What do you do about that? Well, they're raising these guys in Canada, Lithuania, these much colder climates than here, and they're not doing a whole lot, and they don't like shelter. You can give them a barn, you can give them any kind of a shelter, a big windscreen. They won't use it. When the weather gets inclement, they just sit down. And their feathers, the way they insulate in the heat, they insulate in the cold as well. Like when it's freezing cold out here and I stick my hand under his wing, it's just like a furnace. It's incredible how insulating it is. So they do really well in cold and hot. And I think that's a desert thing.
Okay.
Because where it gets really cold in the desert, where it's hot during the day, it works both ways. They almost seem more comfortable in the winter than they do in the summer here. And the summer's not hot here. Like 80 is usually the high where we are.
And with their feed here, how much do you have to use each day with feed? Is supplemental feed?
2 quarts. I feed them the same amount as anybody who just keeps them in a locked-in paddock, where they don't have grazing opportunities. So it's about 2 quarts of bird a day.
Okay.
But that said, they have like all this comfrey, blackberries, all kinds of stuff to eat on us. So they eat really good, and they're kind of overweight, and you can kind of tell that. Their anatomy, the way people judge if they're too skinny or too fat, is with this backbone here. You can feel their hips if they're underweight, and you just feel like kind of like this fatty deposit if their hips are if they're overweight.
Okay.
So that's kind of where you figure that out, and that's kind of how I gauged how much I was feeding them.
Okay.
And they're right now they're perfect.
Okay.
They're firm. They're not too fatty. I can't feel their hip bones.
Okay.
They're eating really well, and they're getting a lot of exercise, and that's another thing. They really need room to run.
Okay.
And so if they're not out here, they'll be running down here where you can't see down here. They've got a big straightaway. They just need big straightaways where they can run and dance.
Okay.
They love to dance. They like to twist and twirl. And we might actually be able to get them to do that. Like,
all right.
When we walk out of here after we've seen everything, I'll let them into the main pasture.
Okay.
That's the area they really like to open up and show their twirls.
Now, do you have names for each one?
I named Big Bird.
Okay, Big Bird.
Because he's the big bird.
There you go.
We've had writer's block for the other two.
Okay.
for the last 2 years. So,
All right. May I touch Big Bird? I've never
Absolutely.
touched an ostrich before.
absolutely.
It'll be the first time.
He's like a puppy
Wow.
dog, except a bird form.
Wow. That's cool.
And yeah, he's usually a lot softer when he hasn't been wallowing in the mud, but he likes to get in the mud.
Wow.
They run 45 miles an hour. Really.
Whoa. 45 miles an hour. Man, that's pretty cool.
Fall. Like, I don't want to be falling.
Right?
Wow.
Down the hill.
But
Who knows? We'll never see him again.
it's pros and cons. So like I can't just graze them in the pasture area. They're not like where a chicken will just eat the top of a blade of grass. They rip it out of the ground, like roots and all, like in clumps.
Wow.
So you run into that issue with grazing these guys. And that's why it kind of looks like it is. But, you know, they poop a lot. They stir the ground up a lot. It's really easy for the grass to come back, like super easy. And where this used to be all thorns, I don't think anybody, as far as the poultry goes, has helped us rejuvenate the grass like these guys have. Because, you know, they'll clear it all out, like everything. But as soon as you move them out for a couple weeks, the grass just springs back to life. It's incredible. Yeah, I bet if we let them out here, we'll see if they can dance. They love to twirl. It's their favorite thing to do, is just twirling around.
Really?
It's incredible to watch.
You gonna let him out?
Like an emu, emus love the water.
Like, I'm gonna go the other way.
They hate the water. Like they see this and they're just like, how do I get past this thing? Come here, Big Bird.
We just
I just love the feel of the feathers.
I know. I wish they weren't so muddy. It feels so much better when they're not like silky. It's a silky bird.
I could totally see why they carry the value that they do.
Yeah. So in like the 1910s and 1920s, the feathers were at the height of their value because they were going in everybody's hats.
The other ones are starting to come.
Where the big bird goes. Hey, lady.
So is that food going down their neck?
Yep. So that's,
Wow.
it's really weird to watch.
It
'Cause
sure is.
It's on one side of their neck. They don't go down both sides, down the middle.
Wow, that was neat. Dude. Like Greg, or we call our goose Greg. Greg starts, and then the dog starts.
Yep.
It's like the dog listens to the goose.
Yeah, ours do the same thing. They follow their cue. Are you that full? You're never that full. This is incredible. Like he'll eat like a goldfish.
What are the areas that they usually allow you to pet them in?
Anywhere, really. Like I can usually, I like to get out of the sun sometimes.
Okay.
Down underneath them. Just because it's so cool to be down there, this prehistoric thing. I actually got some bones I was going to show you from my last butcher job.
Wow. So you butchered one already?
2, yeah.
Wow.
Which takes a little bit longer than corner cross.
I
but
bet so. They don't make cluckers that big that I know of. Oh wow.
Their bones are so light.
Sure is.
You can beat on a drum with one.
So, and they're just like any other bird, excuse me, bless you, where they're
That's neat.
hollow inside,
Wow.
but they're super sturdy still. And they hold up these big birds. But they are the lightest bones.
Part of me would like to see you process it more.
Yeah, well, I've got some, I'm sure I got videos and pictures for when I did it.
Oh, you videoed it already? So did the meat, or did you just use it for yourself, or did you sell any of it?
We, so I harvested what I could.
Okay.
There are unfortunate circumstances. I wasn't planning on doing that, but they broke their legs.
And he was by himself too, so he had to
So-
do what he could by himself. I was out of town.
Actually, yeah, the second time was really awful. It was this past winter, and I took my dog for a hike, 15-mile hike, in the snow. Like the only day it snowed, because I just wanted to test out those trail running shoes I was telling you about.
Yeah.
So I come home and like I get jelly legs from this hike. I'm just
man.
exhausted. The sun's almost gone. It's almost below freezing, and I see the bird down here in the gully. And I'm like, oh no, what's going on?
Oh man.
I go down there, and I see it's got a broken leg beyond repair. So I had to take the 22, put it out in its misery. The worst part was dragging it out of the gully.
So how much do they weigh on average, or we?
So a big male can go 350 to 400. Most of the time they're 250 to 300.
Man, how much would you say that one weighed?
At least 200 or 250.
Oh man.
Yeah, so I tied a rope to both legs and like literally had to like walk it out with my hips up the hill.
Good thing you're fit, cause man.
Yeah, you would have been screwed any other way.
Yeah.
Find a winch somewhere for that.
I did, actually, I winched it up in this maple tree. I got like neighbors driving by, and I got pictures of it up in the maple tree. It looks like a giant turkey when it's all feathered out. And people going by like, what the heck is that?
I bet so. It's like he's processing a dinosaur over
Our
there.
neighbors probably think we're crazy. And that's pretty much what it was. It was like cutting up a giant chicken. And that's how I treated it. But they have red meat. Actually, I'll show you in the freezer. I've got some big hocks. I was gonna thaw one out for you guys coming, but I didn't think about it in time. It's gonna take so long to do. I was like, dang.
It took a long time to thaw that out.
Yeah.
Now, do they ever peck you at all? There's still something in my head, even being near them, that's kind of like, oh,
Yeah.
like they're gonna peck me
Oh, as
like
you
a
should.
chicken or a
'Cause
turkey.
They really do. Like when they're hungrier, like they've been eating all day out of the pasture. When they're hungry, they just constantly go out. It's
Okay.
annoying. Like they'll grab your ears.
Really? Oh,
And that's
that sounds
the
like
worst.
that hurts.
Yeah, it's the absolute worst.
All right, so my hesitation is valid.
No, it absolutely is, because it doesn't feel great. Like right now, they're so full that they're not going to peck at me at all. They're usually just pecking my hand all day long. It doesn't feel good. Like it's not going to break the skin really, but it's close. Yeah.
And if you have like a hat or a phone or jewelry,
Yeah.
they're gonna want it.
So
You want some bone?
he's being real gentle right now, and he's more gentle than she is.
Wow, so it'll peck your hand. Let's try that out.
She's got a much harsher peck.
There we
A
go.
little more friendly with you.
Yep.
We'll do it. We'll do it. Don't rip my finger off.
He won't.
It doesn't feel good, but
So
it doesn't.
they
No,
don't, they
I
don't have
agree.
a whole lot of strength in their jaw.
It's kind of like a kid pinching on me sometimes.
That's pretty much what it is. It's not that bad, but like when they grab the wrong spot, like your ear,
I could see the ear.
it
Yeah.
doesn't feel great. But like I said, it's funny because he's so much more gentle than she is. Like when she does it, she's just like, she's awful.
So, with it being a male, is he really overprotective of them at all, or is he pretty much
No,
okay?
not at all. I think
He's
it's
a really
just-
good one.
He's so juvenile, I think.
Okay.
I've seen him be a little more aggressive in recent months. I say that with a grain of salt. Like, he's still not aggressive at all, but he's just so juvenile that, until there's eggs on a nest, I don't know how rooster he's gonna be. And that's what they're roosters and hens, just like chickens.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's just too docile. He's like a dog.
He's way more calm than I expected. Actually, all of them are, but even the male is pretty calm.
Yeah, so it's really weird. Like every time I'm out here with him, I'm just like, you should chill.
Now, how common is it for them to be like he is?
Really common in captivity. Yeah.
Captivity, okay.
When you raise, I've known this guy since he was a week old.
Wow.
He's known me since he was a week old.
So that bond is there.
Yeah. So like, if I came up on a wild ostrich, I'm just assuming like it's not gonna be like
Yeah,
this.
no.
But like, he's so used to me, as you can see. But that's what's weird. Like, I've known him just as intimately as I've known these two, and I can't come up on her like I can come up on him. She always wants to keep that
Distance.
a little bit of distance, yeah. But she's fun.
And they have their differences from individually, just like people do.
Right. And the geese, I feel like they have personalities like the geese do.
Okay. So I haven't heard them make any sound at all. do they make a sound?
Oh, they make all kinds of sounds. So they'll grunt, they'll hiss. The males in the breeding season make this booming sound where they fill their necks with air.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and it's so hard to recreate that. Like you probably just have to watch a YouTube video on it. It's
Wow.
Like
Is there anything that prompts them to make these sounds?
they grunt and hiss at each other. That's about it. I'm assuming they would at predators as well.
Okay.
But what are you doing? You gonna dance? You act like you're gonna dance. See, there's a little bit of a
Dancing time?
yeah with the predators. That's where they'll really like they'll do it to the dog
Okay.
because the dog used to try to run them, and they hate that. So they hate the dog.
So who does the main dancing? The females or the males or both?
I think the boys dance more than the girl.
Okay.
Just from what I've seen, but they'll all dance eventually. It's just when they get out in the open.
Okay.
They just feel the need. They know. Yeah, it's so crazy. Like, and they kick forward. They're like flamingos where they lift up the other way.
Now here's a real crazy, stinky question. What does their poop look like? What does the ostrich manure look like? How big is it?
I'm sure we can find some. It's like goat poop, where
Okay.
it's little balls.
Oh really?
Yeah, it looks like goat poop.
Big,
But just a bigger
Oh, wow.
version of that. And they pee and poop at the same time. So, and it's always
Wow.
white, like birds.
Okay.
So it's like goat poop and bird pee, I guess.
Interesting.
I don't know how to explain that. But yeah, I guess you just have to see it. And that's how you can determine sex before. So until they're about a year and a half old, they're all the same color. So you don't know who's a male or female. But when they do that, they either have some extra stuff to work with or not. And that's how you kind of figure out what they are. You wait to see what's in there.
Okay.
Because they just kind of push it all out. It's a very strange anatomy.
Interesting.
So if you're not sexing from an eggshell, then that's how you figure that out. Before they get to this age, because it's obvious then.
We had such an amazing time with Josh and Stephanie. Their ostriches are amazing. I so wish that I could have them on my homestead one day. Well, be sure to follow along with Josh, Stephanie, and their ostriches too at Nutrient Dense Permaculture on YouTube and Instagram.